Join me as I take on the ultimate camping challenge at Whispering Pines, where I'll face my fears and uncover the truth behind this terrifying nightmare. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the dense forest of Blackwood Pines in northern Maine. Clara Hensley, a 27-year-old graphic designer with a penchant for adventure, had been planning this camping trip for months. She'd convinced her two closest friends, Leo Carter and Mia Delgado, to join her for a weekend of unplugging from their busy lives in Portland. The trio had been inseparable since their college days, bonded by late-night study sessions and a shared love for pushing their limits. This trip, Clara promised, would be a chance to reconnect, to laugh, to feel alive in the wild. Blackwood Pines was no ordinary forest. Spanning thousands of acres, it was a labyrinth of towering evergreens, rocky outcrops, and winding streams that seemed to whisper secrets to those who ventured too deep. Locals spoke of the forest in hushed tones, sharing tales of hikers who vanished without a trace, or strange lights flickering among the trees at night. Clara, ever the skeptic, dismissed these stories as folklore meant to scare tourists. Leo, a pragmatic software engineer, agreed, while Mia, a nurse with a quiet fascination for the supernatural, wasn't so sure. Still, the promise of a weekend under the stars, far from the noise of the city, was too tempting to resist. They arrived at the campsite on a crisp Friday evening in late October, the forest floor carpeted with fallen leaves that crunched under their boots. The site, a small clearing near a babbling creek, was perfect, secluded yet accessible, with a fire pit already ringed by stones. Clara set to work pitching their tents, her auburn hair tied back in a messy bun, while Leo unpacked the cooler, his wiry frame moving with practiced efficiency. Mia, her dark eyes scanning the surrounding trees, gathered firewood, pausing occasionally to listen to the distant hoot of an owl or the rustle of leaves in the breeze. As night fell, the three friends gathered around a crackling fire, the flames casting a warm glow across their faces. They roasted marshmallows, the sugary aroma mingling with the smoky tang of burning wood, and passed around a thermos of spiked hot chocolate. The conversation flowed easily, from reminiscences of college pranks to plans for the future. Clara, ever the instigator, suggested they tell ghost stories, her green eyes glinting with mischief. "Oh, come on," Leo groaned, pushing his glasses up his nose. "You know those stories are just recycled nonsense. Lost hikers, vengeful spirits, same old, same old." Mia, curled up in a blanket, shot him a playful glare. "Not everything's nonsense, Leo. This forest has history. People have gone missing here. Doesn't that make you wonder?" Clara laughed, tossing a twig into the fire. "Mia's right. A little mystery makes it fun. Besides, what's camping without a good scare?" Leo relented, and they took turns spinning tales, each trying to outdo the others. Clara's story involved a spectral lumberjack haunting the pines, while Leo concocted a ridiculous yarn about alien abductions. Mia's tale, however, struck a different chord. She spoke of the Whispering Pines, a legend she'd read about online, where the trees themselves were said to murmur warnings to those who disrespected the forest. Her voice dropped low, her words weaving a spell that made the firelight seem dimmer, the shadows deeper. "People say if you hear your name whispered in the wind," Mia said, "it's the forest calling you. Follow it, and you'll never be seen again." Clara shivered, though she blamed the chill in the air. "Okay, Mia, you win. That's creepy as hell." Leo snorted, breaking the tension. "You two are so gullible. It's just wind and trees. Nothing out here but us and maybe a few raccoons." They laughed the moment passing, and soon the fire began to die down. Exhausted from the drive and the day's hike, they decided to turn in. Clara crawled into her one-person tent, zipping the flap shut, while Leo and Mia shared a larger tent nearby. The forest settled into an uneasy quiet, broken only by the occasional snap of a twig or the distant howl of a coyote. Clara fell asleep quickly, lulled by the rhythmic chirping of crickets. But sometime after midnight, she jolted awake, her heart pounding. A sound had roused her, not the familiar noises of the forest, but something unnatural, like a low, guttural hum that seemed to vibrate through the ground. She lay still, straining to hear it again, her breath shallow. The hum was gone, replaced by an oppressive silence that felt heavier than before. Unzipping her tent, Clara stepped into the cold night air, her flashlight casting a narrow beam across the clearing. The fire was reduced to glowing embers, and the other tent was dark and still. She hesitated, then called out softly, "Leo? Mia? You guys awake?" No response. The silence pressed against her, thick and suffocating. She crept toward their tent, her boots sinking into the soft earth, and peered inside. The sleeping bags were empty, the blankets tossed aside as if they'd left in a hurry. Panic clawed at her chest. Where could they have gone? It was the middle of the night, and they hadn't said anything about leaving. Clara grabbed her phone, but the screen showed no signal, the bars stubbornly absent. She cursed under her breath, her mind racing. Maybe they'd heard something and gone to investigate, like in the stories they'd laughed about earlier. Or maybe they were playing a prank, trying to scare her after all her bravado. The thought gave her a flicker of hope, but it was quickly extinguished by the memory of Mia's story about the Whispering Pines. "Leo! Mia!" she called, louder this time, her voice echoing through the trees. The forest seemed to swallow the sound, offering nothing in return. She swept her flashlight across the clearing, searching for any sign of them. A footprint, a dropped item, anything. The beam caught something glinting near the edge of the campsite. Leo's glasses lying in the dirt, one lens cracked. Clara's stomach lurched. Leo never went anywhere without his glasses. He was practically blind without them. She picked them up, her hands trembling, and noticed a faint trail of disturbed leaves leading into the forest. Against every instinct screaming at her to stay put, she followed it, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. The trail wound deeper into the woods, the trees growing denser, their branches interlocking like skeletal fingers. The air grew colder, the scent of pine now tinged with something metallic, like rust or blood. Clara's breath came in short gasps, her pulse hammering in her ears. She called out again, her voice cracking, but the forest remained silent, save for a faint rustling that seemed to come from all directions at once. After what felt like hours, but was likely only minutes, she stumbled into a small clearing she didn't recognize. In the center stood a gnarled, ancient pine, its trunk twisted and scarred as if struck by lightning long ago. At its base lay a pile of objects: hiking boots, a torn jacket, a water bottle, items that looked disturbingly familiar. Clara's flashlight trembled as she approached, her heart sinking as she recognized Mia's jacket, the one she'd been wearing earlier that night. Before she could process what she was seeing, a sound broke the silence. A whisper, soft and indistinct, like a voice carried on the wind. "Clara!" it seemed to say, though she couldn't be sure. She spun around, her flashlight darting wildly, but there was no one there. The whisper came again, clearer this time from the direction of the ancient pine. "Clara! Come!" Her legs felt rooted to the ground, torn between fear and the desperate need to find her friends. The whisper grew insistent, almost pleading, and against her better judgment, she took a step toward the tree. The air around it seemed to shimmer, like heat rising off pavement, and the ground beneath her feet vibrated with that same guttural hum she'd heard earlier. Suddenly, a hand grabbed her shoulder and she screamed, dropping her flashlight. It was Leo, his face pale and streaked with dirt, his eyes wide with terror. Clara, we have to go. Now. Leo! Oh my God, where's Mia? What's happening? Clara's words tumbled out, her relief at seeing him overshadowed by the dread in his expression. She's gone, he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. We heard something followed it. There was this thing. It wasn't human, Clara. It took her. Clara's mind reeled, struggling to make sense of his words. What do you mean, thing? Leo, we have to find her. No, he shouted, grabbing her arm. We can't. It's still out there. We need to get to the car. Get help. Before she could argue, a piercing scream echoed through the forest, unmistakably Mia's. It was followed by a low, guttural roar that shook the trees. Clara tore free from Leo's grip and ran toward the sound, ignoring his pleas to stop. She plunged deeper into the forest, branches whipping at her face, her flashlight forgotten on the ground. The scream led her to another clearing, this one larger and eerily silent. In the center stood Mia, her back to Clara, her body unnaturally still. Mia! Clara called, rushing toward her. But as she got closer, she froze. Mia's head was tilted at an impossible angle, her eyes vacant and glassy, like a doll's. Her lips moved, but the voice that came out wasn't hers. It was deep, distorted, and layered with countless others, like a chorus of the damned. You shouldn't have come, the voice said. The forest keeps what it claims. Clara stumbled back, her mind screaming that this wasn't real, couldn't be real. But the thing that was no longer Mia turned toward her, its movements jerky and wrong, like a puppet on frayed strings. It lunged and Clara ran, her lungs burning as she crashed through the underbrush. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to escape. Hours later, as dawn broke over Blackwood Pines, Clara staggered onto a dirt road, her clothes torn and her body bruised. A passing ranger found her, half delirious, babbling about her friends and a monster in the forest. Search parties scoured the area for days, but no trace of Leo or Mia was ever found. The campsite was empty, the tents untouched, as if the trio had simply vanished. Clara returned to Portland a shell of herself, haunted by nightmares of that night. She tried to piece together what had happened, scouring old records and local legends for answers. She learned of others who disappeared in Blackwood Pines over the decades, their stories eerily similar to her own. Some spoke of a presence in the forest, an ancient entity tied to the land, feeding on those who strayed too far. Years passed, but Clara never went camping again. She moved to a small apartment in the city, where the hum of traffic drowned out the whispers that still haunted her dreams. She kept Leo's cracked glasses on her nightstand, a reminder of the friends she'd lost and the mysteries she'd never solve. The forest, she knew, was still out there, waiting, its pines whispering to anyone foolish enough to listen. In the end, Blackwood Pines remained untouched, its secrets buried deep within its roots. Hikers still ventured into its depths, drawn by its beauty and its danger. And sometimes, on quiet nights, the wind carried a name, soft and fleeting, beckoning them into the dark. Hey everyone! Thanks for reading my latest story. I hope it gave you chills and kept you on the edge of your seat. Writing these tales is a passion of mine, and I love weaving together suspense, horror, and the unknown. If you enjoyed this, let me know what you thought. Your feedback means the world. And if you're a writer with a creepy story to share, feel free to send it my way. I might just bring it to life in my next piece. Until then, stay safe and maybe think twice before camping in the deep woods. See you next time with another spine-tingling tale. As the shadows of Blackwood Pines fade into silence, one question lingers. What really happened to Clara's friends that fateful night? If this terrifying true crime, camping horror sent shivers down your spine, don't keep it to yourself. Smash that like button to show your love for chilling tales and share this video with your friends who crave a good scare. Got a theory about the Whispering Pines mystery? Drop it in the comments below. We're dying to hear your thoughts. And if you want more creepy camping experiences and true crime horror stories, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a spine-tingling upload. Stay curious, stay brave, and maybe stay out of the woods. See you in the next tale.